Hey y'all, back at it again here, outside out here working on the Jeep, the Grand Cherokee. Uh, some of you may remember this Jeep. This is my parents' Jeep. Putting front brake pads and rotors on it. Unfortunately, I had to run and go get had to do something I don't normally have to do. I had to go get some tools. This is usually not something I have to do, because usually I've got a pretty solid, good-sized tool collection. So if you are doing this job, just be aware this is, sometimes this is something you will have to run across. You'll run into this from time to time. So that's something that if you're going to work on these vehicles enough, you're going to run across this. Now I went ahead, as you can see, I've got the front tires off. I'm going to be rotating the tires and wheels on this. I've got the caliper already compressed. One of these bolts, I've already got it out. It takes an 11 millimeter, 11 millimeter Allen head. So that's very, very odd. I've been doing this for more than 20 years, and I can tell you that the number of times I've had to use an 11 millimeter anything is very, very, very few times. It's just a very rare kind of setup. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the rest of my tools out of here, and then I'm going to get the caliper off. I've already compressed the caliper, and I'm going to get the rotor off and show you a little bit more. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, y'all, you'll notice there's this spring right here that is this is going to keep you from getting the caliper off successfully. You need to use some sort of pry bar. You can use a screwdriver, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Just like that. Okay, you just pry it off. Okay, and get the springs fingers out from underneath there. Okay, it's pretty simple. Like I said, I've already got the caliper compressed. I've got the bolts out. So the caliper is just going to slide right off. Oh Lord, they could have went a little bit longer on these, but they're getting new ones now. So, probably compress these caliper pistons just a little bit more. So I'll show you how to do that. That'll be basically what I do most of the times. I take my pry bar, I get in here inside this hole, and I press against the caliper and then the rotor and force the pistons over. Okay, this is a 2-piston caliper. Both pistons are on one side. No big deal. But to get this rotor the rest of the way off, you got to take this caliper bracket off. And let's see, what size is that? We're dealing with, oh, it's pretty big. Oh, it's really big. It's a really big socket. If this necessary. Yeah. Have to turn on a little light. I got started earlier, but I had to stop to go run and get a tool. Again, like I said, I don't normally have to do that, but that's the way it goes. Alright, I'm back. Let's see. Ah, yes. 13/16. Yeah. You want to, basically, you want to keep your caliper from like rocking around and moving around a whole lot. And you don't want it to hang off the brake hose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it, I'm going to let it rest on the control arm, lower control arm. Okay. That is really, really tight. But that's the great thing about doing the front, working on the front end. You can steer the wheel around to where it's easier for you to get to, which is nice. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, that got that broken loose. One of the things to keep in mind about doing any of this is that first side you do, that first wheel you do, it's probably going to take a little bit longer than the other side because you already know what you got to do on the other side. You know what size tools to use and everything. Of course, want to keep up with the hardware, even if you're going to replace it, like the spring, keep up with it. Now these pins like this that holds the caliper, basically the caliper slides on these. It's very, very important. Clean these up really nice. Then clean up the hole where they go in and lubricate the guide so that the caliper can glide back and forth on that. That's how that caliper works. It works, has pistons on just this back side, and it pushes the caliper, the outside pad over and the inside pad onto the rotor, which, you know, basically stops the vehicle. So you've got to make it so that the caliper can glide back and forth, can move. And you want to do that so it's smooth, not abrupt. And these things are just held in there into the guide, into those, there's these little rubber pieces, grommets, that is in the caliper. That's all that really holds them in there. They just screw into this caliper bracket here, like right there where my thumb is right there. So that's all there is to it. Okay. Now I'm going to get a hammer and I'm going to hit on this rotor and get it knocked loose and get it off here. If you're going to turn this or reuse this rotor, then you wouldn't do that. But I've got new rotors, so this is all taken care of. Doesn't matter. So I'll get that done and I'll show you a little bit more. Okay, we're back and I've got the compressor. No, I've got the caliper compressed the rest of the way. What I did was just use this old pad, and of course, I used the C-clamp. Go sue me. Okay, but press the pistons down the rest of the way, got them back out of the way. I've also cleaned up the caliper some here with a brush, did the same here on the hub, got the rotor off, as you can see. Also cleaned on the brake caliper bracket. And I'm going to spray all this stuff down with brake parts cleaner and get it ready for the new parts that's going on. Okay, so anyway, oh, one more little thing. I got to clean up these little bolts. So we'll go ahead and get started with the cleaning. And I hope you can see well. It's getting a little dark out here, but I'm going to carry on. You just want to blast all the loose dust and dirt and grime and any kind of oil that gets built up on the caliper. You want to get all of that. Okay, so we got all that done. Next I'm going to go and I'm going to let this stuff dry. While I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get, my caliper is almost completely dry, as you can see right here. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate these holes. I'm going to clean those bolts up. Oh, I need to show you what kind of lubricant to use on brakes. You can use, for those guide pins, you can just use like a simple wheel bearing grease if you want to. If you've got nothing else, that's pretty good. That's better than nothing. Way better than nothing. But if you do have the means, if you have the ability, go and get yourself some of this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, right here is brake. This is ceramic extreme brake parts lubricant. Okay, but just so you know, I'm not sponsored by these guys or anybody else, but this stuff does work really well. So same goes for the CRC. You know, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm just telling you this stuff so that when you go to the parts store and you're like, hey, I need to get brakes for my car or truck or whatever, you can, you know, sure, you can just slap the pads on, but to me, I like going the extra mile and you know, doing stuff like this on these guide pins. Okay, that ensures that caliper has got the best chances in the world of working like it's supposed to without issue, and that's exactly what you want. When you're cleaning these little guide pins, okay, it's nothing really all that special. You just want to go over them with Scotch-Brite. If you don't have Scotch-Brite, sandpaper will work. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just a little Scotch-Brite, sandpaper, anything like that. You just want to clean off that goop that builds up on there. Now, I have taken my Scotch-Brite and I have already saturated it with some penetrating oil like PB Blaster. Let's see, I got to get this, clean that one just a little bit more. Of course, I got plenty on my hands too as well. I'm going to clean this off with brake parts cleaner, but I wanted to just wipe it down to give you all a little look-see as to what I'm talking about. You see how much cleaner that looks now? Let me back off from the camera there. There we go. See how much better that looks now? Now this one is still got, well, yeah. As you can see, that one's fell down, but you can see that one there's got a little place right there. I'm going to just clean that off there real quick. Now also too, this lubricant also keeps the brake caliper from seizing onto these pins. Alright, so that's another thing you want to be completely aware of, you know. So, alright. Take anti-seize out there for the lug nuts, the wheel lug nuts, that is. All right, and let's see, got too much stuff in my hands. Okay, so just a quick little word, anti-seize. Yes, this is going on a Jeep, which brings up a very whole gamut of conversation. If you are one of those guys that loves to go off-road and you're not using this, why not? Okay, it's not very expensive, it's not hard to find, you know. Yeah, sure, it's a silver, it's going to get all over you, you're going to be wearing it, but I'm going to tell you this, it's way better than dealing with broken lug nut, you know, stripped out lug nuts and broken wheel studs and stuff like that. I started using that stuff 20 years ago, and I can tell you without a doubt, I do not regret it. Do not. I don't have lug nut problems. I don't have problems with the lug nuts on my vehicles. I don't have problems with wheel studs. I just don't. You know, I use that stuff, and that's it. Okay. All right. I'm going to do a little bit more, and I'll show you a little bit more here in a minute. Okay, y'all. We're back. And as you can see, it's a little bit darker, but still carrying on. Okay. You can see, got the lubricant here on the guideways for the pads. The pads are being pushed by the caliper, but they're being guided by this bracket. Okay, as you can see right here, both upper and lower, got that all worked out. Rotor is cleaned off, got all the oil cleaned off of it. When you get these rotors new, they usually are covered with some sort of oil or something like that, or grease. It's very important to clean all that off, because if you don't, you can have some issues with the pads, you know, causing a lot of smoke and just really bad smells and everything like that. Also, these rotors just slide on and slide off once you get the caliper bracket off. So, yes, I did have to hammer the old one off a little bit. The new one, though, just went right on, slides right on, right over the wheel studs and this little center register piece right here. I went and took it a little extra step and put a little anti-seize on that center register. So, you know, it just makes it a little easier to get the wheels off if there's ever an issue, you know, with one of the tires or something like that. But it also makes it easier to get these rotors off a little bit later on. So, all right. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got the guide pins installed, ready to go in. So we're going to carry on here and get the rest of this done. All right, got the pads ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and slide them on. So here we go. The outer pad just slides right on, just like that. Very simple. The inner pad. Now this red stuff, that's anti-squeal that I use on every brake job. I don't do brake jobs without the anti-squeal. It just doesn't get done. Okay, so let's see. Can I do this one-handed? Hold the camera too. I may have to set the camera down, so I'll just go ahead and warn you. Let's see. Here we go. Using my knees to hold the camera. So there we go. Had to push the pad on and overcome those spring clips, and there we go. So, okay, now the caliper is ready to be put onto the bracket, and then have the bolts, guide pins, the threaded guide pins, I guess you could say. They thread into the bracket here, and let's see if I can show you that. Let's see. Yeah, see right there? That's where the guide pins go in at. So, but anyway, we're just about to button this side up. Finish this side up. I've already tightened up those bolts there, those larger bolts for the caliper bracket. So that's very important. You know, get those really good and tight. Do not scrimp on those. They are a stout bolt, so they will take a lot of torque. I'm probably going to have to sit you all down for just a minute, so here we go. Let's see. I'm sorry that light is right in your eyes there. I do apologize about that. Let's see. Can I position this light over here maybe? And maybe it won't be such a in your all's eyes. Okay, so here we go. All right, now what's important to remember is whenever you put your caliper on, make sure you have room, that the pistons are compressed enough. But also you want to make sure so that you get the piston, you get the caliper all the way on. You also want to make sure you get it on all the way, completely top and bottom, because if you are crooked, you will sit there and be working yourself to death trying to get it on, get the caliper on, and it will never, the bolts will never thread on, which will drive you crazy. So I think I've got this top one started. It looks like I've got it started, so there we go. That's good. Now, one other thing that's important. This brake hose, make sure you don't twist it up. I know it's easy to do when you take the caliper off, but before you put the caliper on, make sure this is not kinked or twisted looking. You basically want it looking something like that, okay? You don't want it twisted up there, so, okay. All right, let's see, let's get you all back in here. I know that's not the best view in the world, but I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. I just don't have a lot of places to put the camera phone. So here we go. I'm going to run these bolts in real quick. Now, you'll notice I'm not doing the impacts, using an impact very much. If you want to, you can. I actually have one I can use, and I probably will use it on the other side. But another little thing, if you have the there we go, that's tightening down right there. If you have a 2011 or later Durango, almost identical. I mean, almost no, you know, especially for the first several years of the Durango, this is exactly the same creature. So. Yep, exactly the same animal here, so no big surprise there. At least there shouldn't be. So now, last piece is this right here. Let me get you all in a better position to see what I'm doing here. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Ah, sinuses. Okay. Just so you know, there's nobody out here with me, so you know the whole 6 foot distancing thing applies. And but I've been tested for COVID-19 twice, and both times came up negative. So there you go. But anyway, we're gonna put the spring on next, and it only goes on one way, so that's good. But the irritating thing is that this son of a gun can and will pinch your finger, so be very careful. Okay, ask me how I know. Let's see if I can get you all set up here a little bit. I got an empty jack stand here I think I can use for you all. And this this gonna work? Maybe. Okay. I know. My leg is in the way here. I'll tell you what. Let's see. Maybe we can get it around here. Okay. Now, what you want to do basically, let me reposition my light so it's not in my eyes and not in your eyes. Okay. What you want to do basically is you want to make sure you spring on the right way, of course. Now, I do it like this. I'm going to put one of them in there like this. Put one thing over like that. You're going to pull the caliper. It's going to move the caliper. Don't worry about it. Okay, see how that is? See? Now, it's important to hold on to this because this has a lot of tension. So, now you can also do it like this. You can put both of your tangs. See, this one's down here, and this one is up here. This is a very frustrating little piece, so be aware it will come off. But mine, I got mine all the way on there. So just give it a little pat there with your hand, get it all the way on, you're ready to rock and roll. Okay? Now that's the new spring that came with the pads. So there we go. Two more little things you need to be aware of. One is these little caps, these little plastic caps. Oops, dropped that one of course. But they go in the grommets for the caliper bolts. Just keeps that. I like that because it keeps the dirt out. Oh, another thing is before you get in your vehicle, I don't care what kind of vehicle it is you're putting brakes on. Before you get in your vehicle and you take off driving, be sure take your brake pedal, mash it several times, because what you're doing is this caliper is now retracted. So you can see, I mean, look how much gap. There's a considerable amount of gap right there in the road, in between the rotor and the pad. So when you're pumping that brake pedal up 2 or 3 times before you take off driving, you're going to take up that clearance, that gap, okay? So you're just pushing those pistons out. That's all you're doing. And you want to do that before you start backing up or moving the car around or truck, whatever. Because if you don't, you could look at it. You could be facing a serious accident. All right, I'm going to move to the other side. I'm going to get the other side done. I'll show you a little bit more. Okay, y'all, I'm back. I know it's very dark out here, but the Jeep is finished. I wanted to show you one little thing that is really important. You see that? That's brake fluid. Now, what's happened is I've compressed the calipers, and you know, in the back, I did the brakes in the back like a couple of weeks ago, so I compressed those calipers and forced extra fluid up here to the master cylinder. I did the same thing up front, and now we got the excess has run out here on the ground. That's very common. There's nothing to worry about. And the thing is that now I'm going to take this thing for a test drive and then also deliver it. Pretty confident that the brakes are going to be fine. There's not going to be any issues with the brakes or anything of that nature. But there always can be an issue or a problem that can crop up. If there is, you need to make sure, and like I said before, I hope you can see that now. I've already pumped the brake pedal a couple of times before you saw it. Let me turn this fan down a little bit. It is moving a lot of air. So, but like I said before, make sure and put your brake pedal, turn that flashlight off, push your brake pedal several times and get the pedal built back up. If you don't, what can happen is you go and put it in reverse or drive or whatever, and you take off, and you're like, you know, you're hitting the brakes to stop or slow down, and nothing's happening. Also, the same sort of logic holds true for the for the steering. You know, so if you got the steering wheel turned all the way to the right or all the way to the left, and you start backing up, and the front end starts going, you know, a little unexpectedly for you, then you know what's happening. Okay, listen, it's starting to get really. I tell you what, that's better. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, maybe that's a little better. All right, listen. I'm going to take it for a test drive. I'm going to show you a little bit about what you need to be looking for on a test drive, what you need to do in order to bed the brakes in, okay? Basically, you got two new surfaces, the rotor and the pads, all right? Now, I'm going to turn this light off because it's kind of difficult for me to see, so I am going to turn it off. I need to put the seatbelt on. You may still be able to see me a little bit, but I tell you what. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you about bedding the brakes in. When you go to do that, it's important to accelerate to, like, you know, probably 55, 60 miles an hour, and then hit the brakes and slow down, and then do this maybe 2 or 3 times to get some heat built up into the brakes, and then give them a chance to cool down. Okay, so I would video this, but it's dark out here. It's going to be hard for y'all to see, and not only that, I know it's already hard for y'all to see anyway. I can't have this light on because I need to be able to see where I'm going, and if I've got the light on, it's kind of difficult for me to see where I'm going. Is it better this way? No, not really. But anyway, so I'm gonna have to cut the video off here, and I hope you learned something. I hope you got a little. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, anything, put them down below in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer your questions. I love that interaction between me and you all. I'd like to be able to help. All right, thank you very much for watching. God bless. Have a great one. Oh, one more thing. Be sure to torque your wheels down. Okay. Probably, when in doubt, I like to go 100 foot-pounds. Some vehicles are less, at like 80 foot-pounds. Some are more, like 120 or 130, 140 foot-pounds. You can look all of that up. Just Google it, or if you've got the manual for your vehicle, you can look it up like that. But just be sure to torque all the lug nuts down and stuff like that. Okay? Thank you, and God bless. Have a great one.